Zeke, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Have you been?
I've been well. Thank you so much for making a few minutes to chat.
Absolutely. No, thank you. As you can see, Zeke, I have my usual co-host, Biscuit, here. She's going to keep her questions to a minimum. No, but we have Zeke Bronfman. Thank you for being on BeerNet Radio, XED Beverages, which let me tell you what I think it is, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Like a startup drinks incubator, and your first product is SESH, and which has done pretty well from what I understand. And so, Zeke, tell us about the company and about SESH. You obviously come from the Bronfman family from Seagrams. So I knew I think your grandfather, your father way back. And tell us how you got to where we are today, because
Yeah,
it's kind of a good story.
first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to tell this story, and it's really one that comes out of a genuine need that my co-founder Nate and I experienced on the market, and a problem we were trying to solve. And so the two of us met when we were in college, and pretty quickly on, we started going to a lot of these college parties, and we realized that the only option for drinking was value beer. And each for our own reasons, that didn't really work for us. I'd grown up, as you alluded to, my family's been in the alcohol business for 4 generations. And I grew up drinking a lot of really delicious, robust, bold spirits. And I missed the authentic experience of sipping alcohol. And so I would mix great cocktails in my dorm room before going out. And I never realized that these cocktails had 350 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and 30 carbs. And my co-founder and best friend at the time, Nate, is a type 1 diabetic, and he was an athlete in school. He played rugby and football in college. And so he couldn't have the high calorie, high carb, high sugar drinks that I was having. And he'll tell the story way better than I will, but he remembers very clearly being a child and being diagnosed with diabetes and realizing that, when he went into school and his friends were having apple juice and cookies and he had to have water and carrots, that food was always something that made him feel isolated, different, and left out. But as advancements in food tech came along over the years, right, he was able to have a bagel without any carbs. He was able to have candy without any sugar, and it made him feel less and less isolated and less different. But when he got to college and started drinking, there was nothing in the beverage alcohol market that brought that innovation, better for you innovation, at the same time as focusing on full flavor. And so the two of us went out onto the market and we tried to find alternatives. We tried to find alternatives that were delicious, had that authentic flavor profile I was looking for, but came in a better for you, all natural ingredient format that Nate needed. And what we realized was nothing checked both of those boxes. Everything was forcing us to choose either the really expensive, high calorie, high sugar, high carb cocktails, or the really muted flavor, boring packaging, uninspired flavor profile, more of the same spiked seltzers. And neither of those two extremes worked for us either. So we just went back to our dorm room and started mixing delicious full flavor cocktails that had zero sugar, all natural ingredients, only 120 calories, and came in the light, sessionable format of a seltzer. And before we knew it, we were making 50, 60 of these for all of our friends each weekend. And then before we knew it, we were, signing our first distribution deal and haven't back since.
Classic garage or dorm room. Everything going forward to me is this is the year of ingredients, and the non-out guys are great at this. They've been going and looking at shitty ingredients in the beverage aisle for years and saying, hey, we can do something that tastes better, like I'm just talking off the top of my head, Celsius and so many non-outs that went after that high sugar Gatorade market and have done very well. Body Armor, like you said, you got distribution, which is really hard to get. So tell me, what were some of the challenges that you and your partner, got in the very beginning, other than finding co-packers and all of that?
Yeah, so I would say honestly, our biggest hurdles up front were around the logistics and the pandemic. It was very difficult launching a brand, building a brand, sourcing ingredients. This was really, a lot of that was started just before the pandemic. And then we actually had to, start producing as the pandemic began. And that was a really tough challenge at the beginning of the business. To get distributors to lean in on distributing a new brand during the early days of the pandemic was really difficult. But I would say the hardest part is in building a brand, launching in the pandemic. The typical ways of building a brand are kind of off the table. You can't build it in the on-premise and you can't build it through sampling. And so we had to look at really creative ways to build without those two typical channels. And I think it forced us to grow more as a company, because now as those channels are hopefully opening up more and more, we can lean into them in addition to all of the other creative things that we've figured out over the last 9 months or so.
Right. And Zeke, where are you? Are you in like the Hamptons or something? Because you're outside, it's beautiful. What's going on?
Thank you
Are
so
you
much, Harry.
are you
I'm
bedded down for
incredibly lucky.
Christmas? It-
I am in the
yeah.
Caribbean. I'm already away for the holidays. I am very lucky.
I knew I knew you were somewhere cool. And so, okay, so tell me a little bit about launching SESH and how that's been going.
Yeah, so we launched SESH in March of this year in 4 states: New York, New Jersey, Ohio, and Illinois. We wanted to test out, see how it performed, understand our consumer, collect data, and then grow in a really disciplined and targeted way from there. And over the first 9 months, we got some amazing data, both really helpful insights to help us understand who was buying us, why they were buying us, and where we should be making investments, but also really strong data that allowed us to then go to distributors and retailers and get serious excitement about expansion. And so the goal of those first 4 markets was always to prove the concept. And as I like to say now, we successfully proved the concept, and we're moving into the scaling and growth phase with that brand. So we had some great data from those first 4 markets, including unbelievable sell-through data, outsold the category average by plus 46% dollars per facing, outselling the category leader by plus 9% dollars per facing. And so with that really strong data, we're now going to be expanding significantly in leading up to the spring resets. So we're going from those 4 states to 12 states by February, March. We'll be in Florida, pretty much all the way up the East Coast, and then also in Illinois and Ohio. And then in the second half of the year, we'll be expanding to the West Coast, Texas, as well. We have some amazing retail partnerships, huge programs that we're rolling out with Kroger, Walmart, Total Wine, Southeastern Grocers, and some great partnerships with GoPuff and many others. So we're really excited about where the SESH brand is growing, and really think that this is going to be a big year for the growth of the brand.
That's cool. And I think that's wise, because some people just want to go, they want to go to 50 states too soon. And you really can't, this particularly today, it's just not, it's not the right way to do it. If you want to have staying power. And so have you, do y'all go through mostly like wine and spirits distributors or beer distributors?
Yeah, we almost always go through beer distributors. We have some amazing colleagues, friends, and associates who are wine and spirits distributors. We're not, opposed to work with wine and spirits distributors, and we do in some markets. Typically speaking, though, we have seen that with a product like ours, beer distributors are better set up to handle it for a number of reasons. They're better at merchandising. It's just something that they do regularly, which wine and spirits distributors don't typically. And the value for them is there much more, because they're typically making slightly more than they would on a case of beer with a case of SESH. Whereas when you go into a big wine and spirits distributor who's making significantly more on a case of, a premium spirit that they're going to sell, they're less incentivized to move a case of our product. And so that's just always the tension we're trying to think of. And for us, it's really about being with the best distributor who wants our brand and wants to push it in every market.
Now, remind me, is SESH spirit based or malt based?
SESH is technically a sugar brew based alcohol, so it's passed out like a beer.
Okay. So yeah, it would make sense, because you can reach that C-store market in some markets that is so important, that I think people forget. Okay. So 2022, let's assume that the pandemic is, we keep assuming it's over and then something comes up, but let's just assume that people are on premise is going to remain quasi open, and, especially next summer, it'll hopefully open up. So do you see that as a kind of a breakout, because you'll be able to sample this product both
Absolutely.
on and off?
I think that's going to be the single biggest factor for us to really hit that next phase of growth. I mean, we've seen in accounts where we can sample right now 5 to 10x better rate of sale than in accounts where we can't. It is truly mind-boggling. And what that says to us is people love the liquid. And so we are trying to find every way possible to get liquid to lips where sampling is not allowed. But when that does open back up and when people can try this brand on the on-premise, it's going to be really exciting.
And that makes sense. I mean, that's, the strategy. If you can get consumers to try it, they're going to percentage that's going to be a repeat buy. And so you just want to run that as hard as you can. Right. And tell us a little bit about the product. What's the ABV, calorie, flavors?
6% ABV, only 120 calories, all natural ingredients, 0 sugar, gluten-free, no preservatives, all natural. And it comes.
You hear that, Biscuit? It's gluten-free. Biscuit can't have any gluten. She won't even go near it.
Biscuit would love.
Perfect. She's all excited.
Amazing. We'll have to get her samples.
Listen, I'll do it the legal way. When you come to Texas, I'll go to my HEB and I'll buy it.
I appreciate that.
It's the way we do things.
Comes in 4 flavors currently. It's a gin and tonic, Moscow Mule, Mojito, and Tequila Paloma. We also have a variety 12-pack with all of them. We're currently in development, about to launch a new 12-pack with 4 new flavors that are coming out in the early new year. They're going to be awesome. We have a whiskey soda, a whiskey ginger, a mimosa, and a spicy mango margarita. That whiskey soda is really inspired after a 7 and 7, and the whiskey ginger is really, similar to that Jameson and ginger sort of flavor profile.
Look at you repping granddad. That is something else. I like that, dude. Old habits are hard to kill. And you know what? You can bring a Seagrams and 7 to me and just all day long.
And now you can have one with 120 calories, 0 sugar, and all natural ingredients that you can buy at your local HEB.
Finally. Biscuit, do you hear that? Biscuit doesn't look. You got a little wag of the tail. Well, that's exciting. All right. So 2022, I think you mentioned your expansion plans, right? You're going into how many more states? Or
in 12 states in the early new year. Yeah. So Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Maryland, Ohio, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and then potentially opening up Texas and California later in the year as well. And then a couple of other smaller states that we're thinking about opening as well.
All right. So you've got a plan. Have you secured distribution in those states, or are you still looking?
We are still looking for distribution in Texas. Other than that, we are distributed in all the states where we're planning to go to in the next 6 or 9 months.
Having been in Texas for a while, I don't know, 50 years. The good news in Texas is that you really can't go wrong. All of the distributors here are good. The beer distributors, the wine and spirits distributors, like it really is. It's really hard to fuck it up here.
That's a comforting sign.
All the networks are fantastic, and that's because people, they come to me privately and they're like, hey, should I go with AB or? And I'm like, I really can't. They're really very solid and for different reasons. So like you said, you kind of have to pick where your product's going to be more meaningful in their portfolio, that they would focus on it, which is kind of the game.
Yeah, no, that's a super, super helpful point of context. And it's good to know that the distributors in Texas are on top of their game.
Yeah. You got to massage it, right? Biscuit, you got to massage it. Biscuit, put your goggles on. This is serious business. All right. Well, so we try and mix in a little comedy here, Zeke, to keep people awake, because we have an older distributor kind of listenership, and sometimes we have to wake them up. So what else? Anything else that I'm missing that I haven't asked you, Zeke? I don't want to keep you on too long.
No, not at all. So the only thing we didn't discuss is that in addition to SESH, we realized as we were building out the infrastructure to support SESH, we hired an amazing sales team. We hired an amazing marketing team. We built out an unbelievable supply chain led by a great guy leading our logistics and procurement, built out our co-packer network and all of our both raw natural ingredients and packaging. And we realized that once we had sort of put together this infrastructure, and the last piece I'll mention on the infrastructure is we built really great relationships with some of the talent venture teams at different agencies who are now constantly bringing us different celebrities and saying, hey, I have a celebrity who wants to launch a brand in this space. Can you work with them on bringing that to life? And so we realized that when we put that infrastructure in place, it made a lot of sense for us to use that infrastructure to build, launch, and scale a portfolio of brands rather than using it all on SESH and only on SESH. And so we are very, very excited about building out our infrastructure, our portfolio. All of our brands will fit within our 3 macro trends, which is health and wellness, premiumization, and purpose-driven brands. Right now, we're pretty much exclusively focused on the 4th category of beverage alcohol. We are also interested in looking at some non-alcoholic health and wellness things. We do see ourselves first and foremost as a health and wellness company. And so that is really kind of the bigger picture where we're super excited about bringing this, and this is just the first step.
I got you. And that's, listen, especially since the pandemic, I even have celebrities calling me and that don't even know me, or, hey, can you, but yeah, it's such a rich environment for that. And especially if you can get a celebrity who's invested in it more than just, an endorsement, that's really canned wine, and
that's the only way we would even entertain it.
Not like Travis Scott with cacti.
Right.
That just, I mean, it was boom splat. Hey, it was the fastest selling seltzer for about 2 weeks. So,
and if it had had
they
a
got
good
that out of it.
That, I don't know if it ever would have stuck at a 6 share, but I think it would have stuck some customers. Unfortunately, the execution just fell apart a little bit.
Yeah. And then, of course, the unmentionable tragedy. But I think, honestly, cacti was on its way out anyway. Okay, well, great. Thank you for being on, Zeke. Sorry, and it's so great to meet you. This is exciting. I think it's so cool that you're getting back into the industry. That your family is such a storied, long family history in this industry. There's been books been written, I'm sure, about it, and there will be more books, because you know what, it continues. And that's one of the things I love about this industry, is that there's still a lot of family. And what was the third?
Premiumization.
Of course, premiumization. We all want to make a profit. So,
yeah.
Well, awesome. I think the consumer is right there. So thanks, Zeke, for being on.
Thank you so much for having me on. This was great. And let's definitely stay in touch. Happy holidays.
You too, Zeke. Happy holidays to you. Take care.